delete the other one.
Well,
because it's a different pod.
It's fine. We're in. All right. So we're gonna wait for to see if anybody catches up to us, because our other podcast, unfortunately, using new equipment. Hopefully,
using new equipment, or are we just stupid?
Or both.
Not make excuses.
Now I don't know how to turn down the sound. We have 2 viewers. All right, Chris Cuddy found us. Okay, round 2. All right, we're
next week it's going to be heroin.
No to heroin. Oh, okay. So that's crazy. But see, we're the kind of chicks that just bounce back. We want to get things done. Hey, there's Margie Filan. All right, so we got Chris Cuddy is with us tonight, and Margie Filan. And I hope my mother comes back and our OG. Sorry about that, everybody, but
we're your hosts, Helen Keller and Helen Keller.
This is true. Hey, I have good news. Look what I got in the mail today.
I can't because you're moving it. Oh, nice.
All right. So Tim Scott wrote a book, a biography, and it's amazing. And I've already gotten halfway through it. Everybody should go out and get it. I mean, it is truly an American success story. Here's a guy whose family were slaves and picking cotton. And in just 4 generations or 5 generations, they went from picking cotton to actually serving in the United States Senate. And Tim Scott is one of my all-time favorite senators, unlike the people we're going to look at tonight. But anyway, Jen, should I even ask you how your week was? No, it's been that kind of week. Well, we're round 2, and we hope everybody will jump in and have some comments.
All 5 of you, let's go.
Oh, listen, we're almost into double digits, so you never know that this faux pas might actually turn into something. I'm tired of the deep state, Giovanni, and that's what we're going to talk about. I'm tired of it too. I think everybody is. I think that raid on Mar-a-Lago has just energized the Trump base, and I'm happy about that.
Did you see what I sent you, the video?
Oh, that he was the magistrate was
Epstein.
He was one of Epstein's lawyers. So you got to think to yourself, what are they doing? These liberal Democrats. It's not just the Democrats. I want to be clear here. The Republicans are involved in this too. So it's not about Republican, Democrat. And we've said that over and over again on this show. It is about us against them. And the them is trying very, very hard to ensure that we don't have the choice of Donald Trump as our president. Yes, Sean.
Well, on my Facebook, it is the old video. There's nothing live anymore.
There's nothing live on your Facebook. No, that can't be. Okay, I
Hello, Helen? No, we didn't get it together, Josephine. We didn't get it together.
We didn't. We're just pretending that we got it together. Double agents on both sides. Absolutely right, Giovanni. And we should start our conversation off. Well, Jen, why don't you talk a little bit about what you know, and then
I don't know anything because I was actually at a party. I was at dinner when that happened, and I have not watched the news because it's a very busy week for my clients. So I was just going by hearsay. I haven't read the paper, I haven't watched the news. I have not even been on the computer for my own time. Usually I do get that. So I really don't know what's going on. I know they raided his house. I know that it was going to happen. I know why. I wanted to see that if he took any personal paperwork and information with him when he left office, which I think most presidents probably do.
Well, PC Romanovsky says Groundhog Day. Yes, exactly that. Here's the thing. I think that the American people will accept this kind of thing happening and believe that there's really a purpose for it if there wasn't so much hypocrisy by the deep state. As we recall, before in 2015, 2013, there were conversations about Hillary Clinton and using her personal emails and having stuff on her server, classified documents that put the United States at risk. But did any of us, did I sleep through it? Nobody raided her house. Nobody got subpoenas for her stuff. Nobody pursued that. But now that it's Donald Trump, and even though he was cooperating with the archives, historic documents administration of the United States government, even though he was cooperating with them, and even though they were at Mar-a-Lago and they looked at what he had and what was classified and what wasn't classified, they decided to raid his house with 30 people, even though he and his lawyers offered to give them everything that they wanted. They decided to raid Mar-a-Lago. What's that about?
Well, because he announced that he was running for office again.
Well, he was about to. And Marge says at least he did not take the furniture, and that's correct, Marge. At least he didn't take the furniture. So, Jen, the only way to do this, if it's
I did it already.
Okay, all right.
I did.
I was going to say share it. So once again, hypocrisy reigns, and we, the American public, are supposed to just eat it. Where they want to spoon feed us crap, and we're supposed to eat it. And we need to show them that we are not stupid. We know what's going on here. This is all to try to set it up so that Donald Trump cannot run again. First Amendment times Second Amendment times Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth. You're absolutely right. The goal here is to strip us of our rights and to make us smile while they do it. And it's up to us to stop it. And I think that my phone has been ringing off the hook today. And I think what we see here is an energized base. The Democrats do not realize, and not just the Democrats, the deep state. Let's call them the deep state. Or the swamp doesn't understand that the American people didn't buy the bull crap about the elections, are not going to keep listening to their double talk and giving them a pass. And today we're here to talk about both the Republicans and Democrats that need to be gone. And Marge, AR-15, were they afraid he was armed and going to shoot? Yeah, well, you know what? It's all for the drama. There's no longer any pretense that we're following the Constitution or the amendments or anything else. If you watched the January 6th hearings, it was drama. If you watched any of the newscasts, on January 6th, it's drama. They're looking for everything they can to throw at this man, and I think the American people are finally fed up. This is the best they can do. They got nothing. That's right. But if they have the news media regurgitating nothing, what's going to happen, PC, is that there are going to be people who do that 6-second soundbite, and they're just going to repeat and repeat and repeat the lies. We see it now. We still are hearing about Russian collusion. We're still hearing about all the stuff that has been debunked, but that people have pinned on Donald Trump. So tonight's show is called The D-List, as we take a look at the people in government and the media who will use any means possible to subvert the will of the people to ensure they gain power for themselves. And we're going to start tonight, Jen, unless you have something to add now.
I have absolutely nothing but agita, so let's go.
Okay, so we're going to start with Liz Cheney. It's no secret that Cheney's had it out for Donald Trump, and Liz Cheney is the co-chair of the January 6th committee. I don't know if everybody knows, but she has a primary opponent. Her name is Harriet Hagman, and here is a clip from their debate.
Frankly stunned that one of my opponents on the stage, who is a member of the Wyoming Bar, who has sworn an oath, as many of us on this stage have, to the Constitution, would be in a position where she is suggesting that somehow what happened on January 6th was justified, or that somehow what happened that day, the people have the right to ignore the rulings of the courts.
You have the conservatives or Republicans who are being punished for expressing a First Amendment right, for exercising their First Amendment rights. Our republic is not in danger because of President Donald J. Trump. President Trump was an excellent president for the United States of America, and especially for the state of Wyoming.
We are now embracing a cult of personality, and I won't be part of that, and I will always stand for my oath and stand for the truth. The tragedy is that there are politicians in this country, beginning with Donald Trump, who have lied to the American people. And people have been betrayed. He consistently has said that the election was stolen when it wasn't. I'd be interested to know whether or not my opponent, Ms. Hageman, is willing to say here tonight that the election was not stolen. She knows it wasn't stolen. I think that she can't say that it wasn't stolen because she's completely beholden to Donald Trump.
The only time that the J6 situation ever comes up is when people talk about how unfair this entire committee is. They're terribly concerned about the lack of due process. They're concerned about the fact that there's no ability to confront or cross-examine witnesses.
I can hear now too. I had to clean my speakers.
Oh, good. Excellent. So I think Hagman actually brought up some great points. That, you know, the only time they talk about the January 6th committee is to complain that there's no due process, that there's not both sides of the story. And we have a lot of
Well,
clips.
that's all they do is
So, you know, Peter says there was a guy in Germany who used these tactics. Yeah.
There's also 5-year-olds that use these tactics.
Happy 8-8. Okay, gotcha. Marion Murphy, I'm furious. Well, I think, Marion, so many people are, and that was the mistake of the Democrats and the Republicans who teamed up to do this. She says all this with a straight face. She does indeed, Mommy. She says it with a straight face. And here's the interesting thing. So the raid goes on in the middle of late at night at Mar-a-Lago, and this ad started running this morning on Fox. Watch this.
In our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He is a coward. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. He lost his election, and he lost big. I know it, he knows it, and deep down, I think most Republicans know it. Lynn and I are so proud of Liz for standing up for the truth, doing what's right, honoring her oath to the Constitution, when so many in our party are too scared to do so. Liz is fearless. She never backs down from a fight. There is nothing more important she will ever do than lead the effort to make sure Donald Trump is never again near the Oval Office. And she will succeed. I am Dick Cheney. I proudly voted for my daughter. I hope you will too.
I'm Liz Cheney, and I approve this message.
So they aired that on Fox because they're betting that people are really they don't believe that election was stolen. They're
scared. Look, isn't it amazing that they were going to impeach him? Or if you were going to impeach him and you had grounds to impeach him, then they would have raided his home a long time ago. They didn't think he was going to run. They couldn't impeach him. So now they're just stooping down to the lowest level.
And I think this is Brenda Black. Sometimes she comes up as a Facebook user. Doesn't he have no heartbeat? You know, Dick Cheney was probably the most polarizing and controversial figure of the Bush administration. And to see him trying to tell other Republicans what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to vote for his daughter, who is worse than a rhino, it's laughable to me. Dick Cheney is just a dick. He is indeed that. Is that really Dick or is it a hologram? I don't know. Maybe it's the ghost of the guy he killed during the hunting accident. She got 2 votes. Well, we're going to find, yeah, she did get 2 votes, but we'll find out next week whether or not Hagman actually pulls it off. I hope she does. And I think that what they did today is going to help help the demise of Liz Cheney, in my opinion. Dion says it's ridiculous. Hello, Margie. Good to have you with us. We need you and your bright ideas tonight. And you are the hypocrisy sniffer. So I love when you add to the conversation, Margie. Is it the job of Congresswoman to keep Trump out of office? Apparently, that must be the number one concern of the people in Wyoming. Not inflation, not recession, not oil or gas prices. It's to keep him out of office.
They don't care about anything. Look what Hochul did with her about calling inmates. They're no longer going to be called inmates anymore. So instead of making sure that people are locked up, we're safe, they stay in jail, bail reform, this woman's worried about how we're going to call people that commit crimes. We have to give them.
What are we calling now? They're not inmates.
Oh God, I forgot the name. The people of I don't know, some stupid, ridiculous. I call them assholes. She is giving them a humane name because inmates is just so cruel.
Animals, people in a box. Yes, it's me, Brenda Black. Good. I'm glad I identified that right. Luckily, Dick never took Liz Hudson. Very good, Chris.
They need to take his gun away.
Did he shoot him? Yes. He shot his friend in the face and he killed him. So that's I just hope the people of Wyoming are as aware of the hypocrisy as the rest of the country is, and I think they're going to be. So now I'm going to show you a clip from Senator Grassley. He's a Republican. He's a ranking member of the January 6th committee. He brings up a good point, even though in his statement he wants to go after Donald Trump. Once again, a Republican, ladies and gentlemen. Watch.
In pursuit of the facts related to January 6th, Senator Durbin and I have sent oversight letters to the FBI and other agencies. To date, we haven't received any productions. It's difficult to hold a hearing today without records. So the FBI must fully respond to Congress. As I've noted before, the ultimate responsibility for this attack rests on the shoulders of those who unlawfully entered the Capitol. I've also made very clear that everyone involved must take responsibility for their actions that day, including our former president. But a narrow view of these matters would be intellectually dishonest. We're not serious about tackling domestic extremism if we tolerate mobs that attack some police officers, but not all police officers. We're not serious about tackling domestic extremism if we care about some government buildings being attacked, but not others.
I don't know who's worse speaking, him or Biden. Can you imagine the two of them having a conversation?
It's no wonder nothing gets done in government. It takes 7 hours to read a speech. That should take 5 minutes.
Is this real life?
This is our government. That's the worst part. Because they treated their victims with humanity. Trying to...
Our incarcerated person. That's what they're going to call him.
Hey, Elmer, what's up? Absolutely. I'm sorry. Is there anybody in our government that is less than 90 years old? What the hell is going on? This is crazy. He didn't pronounce one word right. I mean, he was reading and he got it wrong. Oh my God. But if you could get past it, he did say we're trying to hold a group of people responsible for attacking a government building, and we're calling them insurrectionists. But last summer, and I would have put the whole quote there. But he went on, and it took 10 minutes. But what he was getting at was last summer when we had BLM and the riots. Nobody got arrested, and we're going to talk about that. They did get arrested, but we're going to have comparison in a minute on these clips about how the BLMers were treated as opposed to how the January 6th, and they call them J6ers now, were treated. So that was Grassley making the point. So let me show you a clip about BLM and two people in particular who were arrested for throwing Molotov cocktails at police. Watch. The beginning is the tee up, just a little bit of a reminder.
That to burn down every city in America. Every police officer, we are coming for you.
Now, prosecutors in the Brooklyn U.S. Attorney's Office has caused outrage with the Police Benevolent Association President Patrick Lynch for suggesting to lower the sentences for two lawyers who threw Molotov cocktails at NYPD vehicles during the George Floyd protests in 2020. The feds plan to seek less than a 10-year sentence for each.
So they were supposed to, they could have served up to life in prison, but they were first remanded without bail. They were given bail and they were sent home. And then the feds came in and they said no, and they got rid of the bail. And then the prosecutors went back and they gave them 2 years at home with their
mommy.
An ankle cuff. And then they're trying to reduce the sentence now to under 10 years. And this was because they threw Molotov cocktails at our police officers.
Not even that. Jimmy's daughter-in-law's sister's husband got hit in the face with a brick in the hospital. Molotovs was not the only thing. The cops were getting beat up, faces smashed in, police horses beaten.
Well, we saw in the video. I mean, one cop was run over. I mean, that was our last clip. Cop literally run over. The Brooklyn Bridge incident, where the cop was beaten with a baton. But the mainstream media did not cover their sentencing and what was going on after that. And what was going on was people were coming in asking for a lighter sentence. And let's all be reminded that Kamala Harris, before she was vice president, set up a fund to get anyone who was arrested out of jail. And there were plenty of Biden staffers who were donating to the fund. So Peter says the rationale for the term insurrection is from the 14th Amendment. Indeed.
We need to be like Russia, like that girl Brittany, what's her last name? The one who's sentenced to 9 years now for, that's how we should run our government and our jail system.
Right. Well, listen, she got 9 years for bringing marijuana oil to Russia, and she thought she was a big, she was going to get away with it, and now she's crying. And as your son said yesterday, she got a 9-year contract with the Russian prison, but due to Biden, she may actually have an opportunity to be traded because now they're talking about trading her for the angel of death. Can you believe it?
Oh
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I saw so much blood like this is like premeditated murder. Unbelievable. It is unbelievable. But again, the American people saw this. This was what was happening last summer was an attack on small business, on the American people, on police.
It was on attack of America entirely, not just on a building full of people. It was all of America, every city, every state, from South Carolina to New York to Texas it was covered everywhere. Everyone was hurt.
And so, I'll say it again, those people who attacked those police officers who went into the Capitol were assholes. They were idiots. But when you take a look at what they were doing, walking through velvet ropes and being respectful of the Capitol for the most part, except for the Antifa groups, these people are now being held for years now, ever since it happened, for 16 months.
People were getting arrested for trespassing a year later. They were catching people that were within a certain distance of the building who might have touched the building. They all got subpoenaed. They all got in trouble. But these people who threw bricks through the banks, where your money is, people, your money, burned down buildings and they're fine. Everything's fine.
And now we're using taxpayer dollars to rebuild those cities after the destruction. So
look what happened at Charleston.
Yeah. Talk about a true attack on the American people. Not only did we have to live through it, but now we have to pay to restore it. Where the damage to the Capitol was infinitely less than there. But what's the difference between that and January 6th? Well, January 6th was, they scared the elected officials. They scared the swamp people. And listen to Christopher Wray, the FBI director, as he talks about what they're doing and what is happening with their investigation about January 6th. Watch this. Hold on a second. There it is.
Let me start with a quick update on the investigation into the January 6th attack here at the Capitol. I was appalled, like you, at the violence and destruction that we saw that day. I was appalled that you, our country's elected leaders, were victimized right here in these very halls. That attack, that siege, was criminal behavior, plain and simple, and it's behavior that we, the FBI, view as domestic terrorism. It's got no place in our democracy, and tolerating it would make a mockery of our nation's rule of law. The rule of law, of course, is our country's bedrock, and it's our guiding principle at the FBI. That's why the FBI has been working day and night across the country to track down those responsible for the events of January 6th and to hold them accountable. We're chasing down leads, we're reviewing evidence, combing through digital media to identify, investigate, and arrest anyone who broke the law that day. And our greatest partner in this investigation has been the American people themselves, your constituents. Citizens from around the country have sent us more than 270,000 digital media tips. Some have even taken the painful step of turning in their friends or their family members. But with their help, we've identified hundreds of suspects and opened hundreds of investigations in all but one of our 56 field offices. And of those identified, we've arrested already more than 270 individuals to date, over 300 when you include the ones of our partners.
Why doesn't anybody in the Republican Party ever ask them, even anyone standing trial for anything, or elected officials that are brought up on charges with Trump that day? Why don't they ever ask, like, why the people that, like BLM and the riots, what they think about that, them not being persecuted? Why doesn't anybody ask these questions?
Well, you have a couple. Johnson is one of the elected officials that are always dogging the investigators. But the problem is they don't have to answer. They answer in doublespeak. They have their speeches prepared and they read these speeches and they don't deviate from that. And, we get a lot of, I'll get back to you. We see it with Mayorkas, with the border, when they were asking questions about how many people came over the border. Oh, we don't have that number. I'll get it for you. I'll get it for you later. So it's a way of ditching the transparency that's supposed to be given to the American people through these hearings. Look, that hearing was really long. I just took the beginning clip, but what I wanted everybody to hear was what their goal was. Their goal was to have the American people turn on each other. The same way that during COVID, we had people yelling at others, oh, you're not wearing a mask, turning in your neighbors. If you had more, what was it Cuomo said, if you have Thanksgiving, you have more than 10 people in your house, they expect your neighbors to call in and tell on each other.
Well, I mean, it's really, when it comes down to it, it's Democrats versus Republicans. They want the Republicans to be shit on because that's who they're targeting. The conservatives and the Republicans were the ones who didn't believe in the vaccine, or the ones who don't believe in wearing masks, or the ones who were there for January 6th. And the left are the ones that were there during the riots with BLM. So it's not American people, it's party to party.
Well, Peter says it best. The left needs to instigate a catharsis reaction from the right in order to skew the election in the fall. They want to provoke a reaction in order to make a point. They need to make the right look bad. And that's exactly right. It's all a game of media. It's a game of cat and mouse. It's a game of who could get the message out. Nobody is telling the truth anymore. And in my opinion, why Donald Trump was such a great president and had such a large following that continues to follow him to this day is because what he did was he peeled back the ick to show us what was going on in the swamp and said to us, this is your government. This is what they're doing to you. And he showed us that with the taxes and now, I mean, did everybody see that all of a sudden an appellate court said that Trump's tax records must be delivered to I think it's the CBO or Congressional Budget Office or something like that, so they can go through them. So this comes out on at a time when we're adding 87,000 more IRS agents, and oh, by the way, they are able to be armed. Think about that. Now, supposedly they're only going to be looking at the tax records of people making over $400,000. But let's think about that for a minute. There's 79,000 IRS agents right now. There's about 1,000 billionaires in America. We're going to add 87,000 IRS agents to that 79,000. So we're talking about 160,000 IRS agents. Who are they going to be auditing? They're going to be auditing small business. They're going to be auditing, workers, regular blue collar people.
Of course, and that was Bill Gates' whole plan: tax the middle class, tax them harder.
That's what we said last week. We showed it last week, and now it's coming true. Naturally, that's domestic terrorism, but all the others were just displays of love and peace for all. And he's a Christopher. Ugh. Yeah, well, he's a Christopher, but the most important thing is he's a schemer and he's a liar. And right now he's acting as a patsy for the deep state and the swamp to try and ensure that America never gets back a president that will actually show the American people what their government is doing. And that's, what the sin of this is. But what we remember was that Ray said that the tips that they were getting to arrest all these people, and he said over 300, but then the clips are going to show you there's over 700 with all the agencies that have been arrested on J6 charges. And this next clip, I'm going to give you the first part of it is a portion of a clip that was shown by the January 6th committee to the press, because all this was done for the benefit of the press, primetime media. And then the second half is a story about Guy Reffitt, who is a Texas man whose 19-year-old son turned him in to the FBI. And now he is in jail. He was arrested and he's still in jail, awaiting a trial and awaiting sentence.
Meanwhile, the guy with the ducks, was it the guy with the duck sauce that got out and waited at home before he killed himself? Yes, it was. So that guy killed a delivery man from the Chinese restaurant, got to go home.
Right. And this man, who, is now sitting in jail, waiting for a trial. He's been away from it. But the worst part is his 19-year-old son turned him in. His 19-year-old son, because he didn't agree with Trump and his father and what his father was doing. Before I show it, let's just see what we have. They nailed them with the cell phone data. Yeah, they nailed them with the cell phone data, but they nailed them with other Americans turning people in. So think about that. So you're having an argument with your neighbor, and they happen to know you were there on January 6th, and now your life gets turned upside down. I mean, this is the worst thing that you could do, is turn people against each other, but that's the goal. And Peter said it, they want to turn us against each other, because when they turn us against each other, that's when we start to break down as a nation.
We're broken already. It's gone.
Well, this one is, to me, this is sad. But listen to this. The first part is a Capitol Police officer. Listen to how he describes the people who were, there on January 6th. Very similar to what happened last summer.
Broken flag poles. Everything in the rotunda, just laying there on the floor. We're told to get helmets, riot helmets. You just see a sea of people, and then you look down and you see officers fighting with these people, pepper spray, smoke grenades, gas grenades. We fought with these people who were prepared for a fight. They had on gas masks, they had on body armor, they had on tactical gear, bulletproof vests. They were ready to go. It wasn't just a mob or a bunch of thugs, they were terrorists. They tried to disrupt this country's democracy.
In a suburb just outside Dallas, Texas, peace has been in short supply for Guy Reffitt's family, broken and shaken to its core after he attended former President Trump's rally and protest at the Capitol. The 49-year-old is now in jail awaiting trial among the more than 700 indicted. He's one of at least 10 rioters arrested with ties to the Three Percenters. He spoke to ABC News from jail during a phone conversation with his daughters.
From my point of view, this has been disastrous for me and my family, especially for my girls, my son, actually, all of my family. It's not an easy thing to happen. I never expected anything like this to happen for a protest, and that's all I went to do.
Reffitt has pleaded not guilty and could face decades in prison if convicted.
I feel like I'll be exonerated. It's not hard to prove that I didn't do anything. It should be pretty easy.
But the guy that beat up the cop in the train station was out for a prior gun arrest.
Yeah. Well, I go back to last summer in BLM. They said we're going to burn down every city, and they did. We're going to come for the cops, and they did. And when Trump tried to push them back, you have these bleeding hearts, saying, "Oh no, they're just kids, peace and love." Everybody should give them a break. But yet it was the American people that got screwed twice, because our cities got torn up, and now
not even that. Do you not remember? And I have it on tape. It was those same people that pulled my hair, took my belongings, and hit me.
Absolutely. I mean, there was no place that was safe, and it didn't matter the color of your skin. They were coming after you, and they said they were, and we were supposed to treat them with kid gloves, and they did. The news media did. Everybody did. And this Capitol Police officer, you would think that his head was in the sand during the George Floyd riots, because he said these people came ready. They had vests on. They had masks on. Well, so did all of the protesters at the George Floyd riots. Every single one of them
had Molotovs.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Kill the delivery guy. Who does that, right? Order your food and then you kill the delivery guy. Kids are currently being groomed to turn in their parents. And that's exactly why I showed that clip.
It'll be a very uncomfortable Thanksgiving if he gets out.
Weaponized our Constitution and our amendments. They did indeed. Why did Martha Rada say to George Stephanopoulos she wasn't scared? I don't know. Are you going to answer that question, Peter? I had many arguments with people on Facebook saying you were at the Capitol riots. That's right. We were outside. We did not go in. We were,
We couldn't even throw a rock at the building.
Yeah, we couldn't even get near the building. We were there for an art installation. But, if anybody wants to turn me in, there's plenty of right
They
stuff.
have me on HBO documentary.
Yeah, really. Martha was right in the center of the action. Yeah, well, you know what? That's the thing is that these news reporters were acting as if what was happening was perfectly normal, and that our system of democracy, or our social system, our system of key civilization in the United States was somehow, it was unjust. And so now they tore it up. And now you can't walk the streets safely, or even park your car at night because people break in and steal your stuff, and nobody's getting arrested for it. Peace and love while they are burning down America. That is correct. She said it on the air as it was happening. Yes. Okay. I remember what you're talking about, Peter. Well, we saw many. We saw CNN reporters standing in front of Infernos saying that it was a mostly peaceful protest. And we showed that clip on the show a couple of times. Well, a lot of people like him. I don't. He is senator in South Carolina. Lindsey Graham. I don't like him because he flip-flops all over the place, and he's flip-flopping again. And today now he's got angry, and so now he's standing up again. But here's a clip over the weekend of him talking on CNN about Trump and the elections. And watch.
I want to play for our viewers what happened late in the night on January 6th on the Senate floor.
Trump and I, we've had a hell of a journey. I hate it being this way. Oh my God, I hate it. From my point of view, he's been a consequential president. But today, first thing you'll see, all I can say is count me out. Enough is enough.
So why now do you think Trump has the character to be president again?
Well, I think he was a consequential president. If you compare his policies to what's going on today, I think he's got a hell of a story to say. That speech was about, I'm going to certify the election. Here's some things I don't believe. I don't believe the Taliban when they say they didn't know Zawahiri was in Kabul. I don't believe Mayorkas when he says the border's secure. I don't believe the election was stolen, and I don't believe this new bill is going to lower inflation. That's where I'm at.
You don't believe the election was stolen. Do you want Donald Trump, if he is looking ahead to 2024, to stop saying that?
I think we should look at election integrity measures to make sure some problems don't happen again. But if he runs for president, talking about 2020 is not what people want to hear.
Sorry, I can't hear the videos that well, but I can hear you way better.
Oh, okay. Well, he's saying that Trump should run for president again, but he's saying that he shouldn't talk about the elections being stolen. I disagree. I think, if you look at Lindsey in his commentary, and even Mitch McConnell will say it, I have a clip of him, that, there were inconsistencies in some elections and we should look into them. But we're going to certify the election anyway. Hi, Angela. Oh, we have both Angela and Chris Cuddy, so it's all in the family. Alex 10. It's sad, but they did a good job brainwashing their own to give a voice for a utopia promise that will never get delivered. And what they will do at the end is say we were not able to deliver the utopia because Republicans keep on blocking the undeliverable promise. Sad, but people fall for promises and not for the truth, because the truth is not the best reality currently. Best way to win this day is not to tell the truth, but to promise students on loan forgiveness, and that will take from those. That's all I got from you. I don't have the rest, Alex. Sorry. Giovanni, I think someone hired the Antifa to sabotage everything. This was an inside job from someone. Absolutely it was. We saw them there. We know they were there. That's when we got the hell out of there. When we saw Antifa, we knew something was up. Always great to watch you. Hey, Heshi. Everybody's got to go listen to Heshi's radio show. It's on Wednesday nights. Has she give us the
Station.
number again? It's AM radio. It's great radio. I'm in him or me situations. Everyone is scared. You're right about that. Yeah, and what did the news media know that they'd be okay because they were there to get the word out and scare the rest of the nation? Maybe. How come a defenseless Martha Raddatz was so calm? I get what you're saying. I love you. We love you too. She's on Facebook and YouTube. So, it's called Just Enough Heshy. So what we have here is, this is like the greatest collusion to pull the wool over the eyes of the American people. We know that Washington is drawn that way. Once you get there, they kind of pull you in, and they control you as a congressperson. And those that stand up and speak out or try to change the way things go. Yeah, in the past they were shot, or you found them murdered or dead. Especially in the Clinton administration. Now, because everything is instantaneous and everybody has a cell phone and you can't keep a secret anymore, now they're just changing the narrative. And it's a stroke of genius. And you want to know what? We're going to show a clip a little later on of Joe Biden speaking at the Council on Foreign Affairs. And they were talking about the Russians and the interference of the Russians in the 2016 election. And the fact that Obama knew that there was Russian interference in our elections, and they did nothing about it. And I don't know if they.
And we weren't. They all claimed that there was interference, and they were able to say what they had to say. And you're not allowed to say this now that it was stolen. Not allowed.
Well, and the interesting thing is that apparently the propaganda has been going on for some time, especially on social media, and it's coming from China and it's coming from Russia, and we know that it is. And they talk about in this very lengthy clip, it's an hour give and take, or an hour talk. So I think all of you should look at it. But they talk about how they thought that it ended at propaganda. They didn't think that they were able to actually get in and change the voting numbers. But why? Why would you think that wasn't possible?
If you can change the miles on your car, you could change the numbers on a vote.
And for people to just say the election wasn't stolen, there was nothing wrong with that election, when we saw on TV numbers changing right before our very eyes. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's like them saying that John F. Kennedy wasn't shot by the mob. Well, it's like saying we weren't involved in the Bay of Pigs. It's nuts, and we are far. As a society, I hope we're far more intelligent.
No, they're pulling the wool over the sheep's eyes, and that's what's happening.
Can't silence the truth. They can hide it, but it will come out at some point, probably when the drunk crypt keeper and her friends are gone to avoid prison time. You're absolutely right about that. Leon Trotsky interfered with our political elections from New York and Mexico City, where he was assassinated. Absolutely on the point, on the money. And I don't care, what people say about me and my points of view, but I know that elections can be tampered with. I was a county chair. I saw it happen.
If they couldn't be tampered with, we'd be voting with our fingerprint. Like the same way you get into your Apple computer, you would use that, because you can't say that's racist. Because
listen, look at what's happening now. We have polls going on, and it used to be the pollsters could predict what was going to happen with elections, and now the polls are so far off, both for the Republicans and the Democrats. In my opinion, after they saw what Trump was doing, the Russians and the Chinese, they were like, oh, hell no, we're not going to let this guy come in again. And there was involvement. And that's how Joe Biden got more votes than any other presidential candidate in history, by campaigning in his basement. But, about all of this, the hypocrisy again is the thing that gets me crazy. And I want to get to Mitch McConnell because I want you to listen to him. I didn't, of course, have the whole speech, but just a good portion of it. Listen to him talk about election inconsistencies, but he still certified the election.
We're debating a step that has never been taken in American history. Whether Congress should overrule the voters and overturn a presidential election. I've served 36 years in the Senate. This will be the most important vote I've ever cast. President Trump claims the election was stolen. The assertions range from specific local allegations to constitutional arguments to sweeping conspiracy theories. I supported the president's right to use the legal system. Dozens of lawsuits received hearings in courtrooms all across our country. But over and over, the courts rejected these claims, including all-star judges whom the president himself has nominated. Every election, we know, features some illegality and irregularity, and of course, that's unacceptable. I support strong state-led voting reforms. Last year's bizarre pandemic procedures must not become the new norm. But my colleagues, nothing before us proves illegality anywhere near the massive scale that would have tipped the entire election.
So how did he know? How did he know? Because the one reason that so many people were in Washington, D.C. on January 6th was to call on Congress to open an investigation as to the abnormalities in that election. And now, how many years has Biden been in office? It feels like freaking forever. That it's 19 months that he's been in office.
He wasn't shitting his pants before he got in office. Now he is. So it's been a while.
How many months? I mean, but really, when the American people, when you see millions of people so upset over what happened, and you see so many questions, and you see all that has happened with the documentaries that have been done by private citizens because the government refused to do it. The FBI refused to do it. How can you look people in the face and have a January 6th hearing rather than a hearing on whether or not the elections were fraudulent?
Aneurysm.
Yeah. Well. Okay. Leah. Okay. Angela. We know this is going to happen. Shame on us if we let it happen again. Try to get a passport without a photo ID. Got it. Try to get anything without a photo ID.
Listen, the first thing they did wrong was giving you a little tiny piece of paper that they mailed to you, not even in an envelope. That was your voter registration card. They sent it to you like a flyer that you were supposed to sign. A piece of little paper with a pencil.
Right.
And that's how they identified you.
That's right.
So if photo ID, government issued photo ID is racist, then guess what? Use your fingerprint. Use face recognition. You log into your bank that way, then why don't you log into the voting booth like that?
You know, that's so common sense, right? It's so common sense.
We're not based on common sense.
We're not, because this is not about what's good for one is good for the other. This is about creating a ball of confusion for the American people to such an extent that we don't want to come out to vote anymore, and that they can play games with the elections. And, they can't keep putting their finger in the dike. Stuff is leaking out all the time. That's why this whole Russian, interference is coming to play. We understand what happened with Hunter and Burisma and the corruption that was going on there. Where's the investigation there? How come nobody's banging down the door at Joe Biden's house asking for his shit from when he was vice president? And we're going to have a clip at the end that's going to really tie this all together. The problem is that we're playing the game. They're setting out the breadcrumbs and we're following the breadcrumbs. We can't do that anymore. We have to be 10 steps ahead of them. The swamp wants us to be kept down. And that is what this is all about. They have to silence Donald Trump. They can't kill him, because if they kill him, he becomes a martyr. So they're trying to make him into a criminal. And even then, now we're seeing that he's going to be a martyr because people are pissed over what happened yesterday. Alex, we can look back and see that for some reason wars break out when the swamp is in power, and the only time wars were stopped when Trump was in power. And I bet with that history, if Trump was the president now, there'd be no war. That's why all the blood is on the swamp's hands. You're absolutely right. And Peter says it best, divided and conquered. That is absolutely how you do it. You play people against each other and you let us do the work of attacking each other. And while we're all doing this, the puppet masters are up here, figuring out how they're going to control the world. And it's all about making money. This whole climate change stuff. We are spending, how much is it? $700 trillion? I forget how much that package is. $7 trillion?
To save polar bears. Save the people. Save the people.
Right. To help with climate change. And I should know this number, and I feel bad that I don't. I just get so angry that the numbers fly out of my head.
$760 billion.
And it's thank you. And it's supposed to be, I love Peter. He knows everything. He's so smart. It's supposed to be to stop inflation. And we're talking about environmental justice in this bill. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Yeah, Joe and his son needs to be investigated. Meanwhile, the Epstein case is silent. So they use the fake Trump case to keep us blind to what's really going on. Yeah, really, listen, 87,000 new IRS agents, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think that's all about?
Oh, yeah.
1,000.
Listen, they blamed Trump for January 6th. No one was allowed to have an opinion. They all blamed one man for forming everybody's opinion instead of realizing that was years. It was building up. Then COVID hit. Then he came out with the vaccine. Then they said, we're not going to get the vaccine because that man made it. Then he lost and they pushed the vaccine. Now the new variant's out and everyone's dying again. And they're going to probably tell you to put your mask on. But now monkeypox is here. Monkeypox. So now, have you heard about COVID? Because I haven't heard a goddamn thing because it's not in their narrative anymore. So now they're blaming something else. This is what they try and push you away into something so crazy.
Yeah. And now polio's back.
Well, that's the same vaccine for monkeypox, isn't it?
No, polio is what we got as kids. That's why
that's right.
From the 1970s and before, we have that circle on our arm. Polio was a terrible disease that crippled people. And now somebody contracted it in Queens, and they've been testing the water. And here's what they found, in case you haven't been following it. They found that the polio in the water came from a live variant polio vaccine, which we don't use anymore. But guess where they do use it? Mexico. So the person who contracted polio in Queens was somebody that was never vaccinated. So the people now coming over the border from Mexico are now bringing polio with them. On top of everything else, polio is back. This is insane. And how do you get people to do what you want them to do? You terrify them by telling them they're going to die from a disease. Okay. Peter's saying the Russian government is $56 billion. New York City budget, $100 billion. Defense contractors run Washington, D.C. Say thank you to your 17th Amendment. That's absolutely right. We have to wake up, people. We have to wake up. And our tens and viewers, and today we did much better than normal, but we need more. We need more people speaking out and recognizing, following what is going on.
Yeah, everyone just stop paying your taxes. Watch what happens. Everyone.
Yeah, well, that's what we're not going to be able to pay taxes. We're going to have no money. All right. So Nancy Pelosi was asked this morning about the raid on Mar-a-Lago. Watch what she says.
Good morning. Well, let's start with the news. Breaking news, the FBI carrying out that surprise warrant, a search of Mar-a-Lago, the former president's home, looking for evidence. What do you make of that search? How significant does this strike you to be?
Well, I, as others, learned on my phone that had happened, so I don't know very much about it.
Does it strike you as a pretty serious step for the Justice Department to take?
Yes, I think it does. I was questioning it because all I saw on my phone was that Donald Trump said that the visit took place and described it in pretty harsh terms. It would be interesting to find out exactly what the warrant was in order to have, what the order was to have a search warrant and for what purpose. But again, we can only speculate.
And before we leave it, I just want to mention House Republican leader, your counterpart, Kevin McCarthy, put out a statement responding to the search. And he said, in part, when Republicans take back the House, we will conduct immediate oversight of this Justice Department. Attorney General Garland, preserve your documents and clear your calendar. Do you have a response?
Well, first of all, I think the Democrats are going to win the House. We've been prepared for it for a long time. And now with what's happening with Roe v. Wade and the legislation that we are passing, I think that whatever the leader is saying is probably idle. But nonetheless, we believe in the rule of law, and that's what our country is about. And no person is above the law, not even the President of the United States, not even a former President of the United States.
Don't do it, Jen. Don't do it. We need every vote for November's election.
I don't even know what they said. I don't even know what they're saying. You can't believe them. They don't even make sense.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Say Connecticut compromise. Smacker. Alex. Sad thing for next generation to see. It will take some time. You only take of the pink shades ones you have good intentions and you get screwed over. So ones the students won't get their loan forgiveness and all the poor won't get free handouts because there's no more to give out, and their pink shades will come off one day and their voters will see how they got screwed. Yeah, well, you know what? Unfortunately, America will be dead by then.
We'll be dead, yeah.
Pelosi lies so much, can't remember what to say. She couldn't remember the name of the bill.
She learned in her phone. She didn't know.
She referred to it as a visit. I know. I was dying over that. But the takeaway was she said that no one is above the law, not a sitting president, not a former president. But apparently a former vice president is above the law because, as we all remember, Joe Biden and his son were involved in Burisma. And there was an investigation in the Ukrainian prosecutor was investigating what was going on in Burisma. But guess what? Joe Biden got rid of the Ukrainian prosecutor. How, you say? Well, let's watch this clip.
I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to the press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
Someone who was solid, who wasn't going to prosecute Burisma. And that was our former vice president. So where's that investigation?
What?
Where's the investigation into Hunter Biden and Burisma? It's gone because Joe Biden said that you won't get $1 billion from the American people if you don't get rid of the prosecutor who's investigating my son. Now, I guess even then he was so old and doddering he didn't think that we were going to put it together, or maybe he just knew that
You thought we weren't going to understand him, so which I almost didn't.
Yeah. Bullshit. It's a way of saying we have a plan to win.
To win.
To win.
Guys, stop typing like Biden speaks. We need to be a little bit more clear because I have a headache already.
Oh my God. All right. So listen, what's the takeaway here, ladies and gentlemen? The takeaway is they're adding 87,000 IRS agents to make sure that you have to pay more taxes because they're raising our taxes. This bill, this inflation cutting bill, is going to destroy us, the middle class, for sure. We had it on the show last week, and from Bill Gates, and he said it. There's only so much money you can get out of the billionaires. And remember, you know what? Billionaires have lots of lawyers, lots of accountants, and when they get audited, so what? They have all the loopholes. It's us, the ones that fill out the short forms, the one that have just your mortgage that you can claim anymore, or even less, that are going to get audited because you may have said that you donated more money than you said you had donated. It's you who are going to get dragged down to the IRS office. So remember that. 87,000 new IRS agents, only 1,000 billionaires. Who's getting screwed in this? Remember, they're persecuting Trump so that you can't vote for him for president ever again. They're taking away your choice for who you want as president so they could put in who they want as president. Tonight, there are primaries in key states across America. Watch them. What we can do is register people to vote. Register people when you're talking at the water cooler or wherever. People say they're pissed off. Whip out your phone. Almost every state allows you to register electoral.
Re-register your dead grandmother. Re-register your dead aunt.
Well, listen, if they could do it, so can we.
Oh, Gloria.
Hi, Gloria. How convenient, Joe. Right. It was very convenient that he got rid of that prosecutor. Or he knew that he was untouchable. That's what I say. I blame Siri, Jen.
Sure. So does Joe.
More than 50% of the budget is untouchable. And that's true. It's, you've got to know who you're sending to Congress. And guess what? Just because you like them and you may know them, if they voted wrong and if you can't, get them on the phone, if they're not serving their constituents, vote them the hell out. They're talking about AOC for president in 2024.
Oh my God. That's when I hang myself with like 10 nooses. Let me tell you, somebody was saying before about the student loan forgiveness, that's what they should do. Yes, they are doing that. But guess what? I tried to get student loan forgiveness. It says, unless you look into it, you think everyone's doing you a favor, you have to be of color or you have to be a civil servant. That is it. So I can't get it.
Right. It's everything is for, just a small group of people. And, it's whoever, is the flavor du jour. It could be.
But if you come across the border, you can go to school for free.
Yeah.
So these are the things they give, they make everything look like they're doing you a favor unless you really look into it.
Well, Alex makes a good point. I don't think registered voters will change anything if the swamp can change the numbers. You're right. But that's the whole thing, right? If we don't come out and vote, if we don't become poll watchers, if we don't get involved with our local political organizations, and now in New York City, you don't have to belong to a political organization. Apply right to the Board of Elections to be a poll watcher on election day. You can challenge voters if you think that they are not eligible to vote. There are ways for us to take our government back. We don't have to sit back and take this. I don't know any other way to say it. You know, Jen and I have fun, doing this show, and we try to bring a little bit of information, and we have such great audience like Peter, like Margie, people who know their crap that come in and give you more information. But you know what? The only way we're going to do this is if we get off our asses and do it. So get involved, because you're right, Alex. They can change the numbers, and we have to demand an investigation. We need to raise our voice.
We did, and look what happened. They put everyone in jail.
Do it again. I'll keep doing it. We all have to do it. Call your Congress people and demand that they open an investigation. You know what? Something else. They're investigating Trump for inciting an insurrection. Well, how about Kathy Hochul, who put out Lee Zeldin's calendar, and that guy wound up going there and attacking Lee Zeldin?
Forgotten news.
The New York State Legislature has to impeach Kathy Hochul. If it's good enough for Donald Trump, then it's good enough for Kathy Hochul. And oh, by the way, Adams is crying. We're a sanctuary city. We have to take all these refugees in. Where's our state senate and our assembly? Get rid of that sanctuary state status. We don't go to work so that we have to pay for other people coming into our country or into our state and taking our resources. Even Adams knows it's wrong. AOC is president, shoot me now. Yeah, me too. People who served military under Carter and Reagan Bush Sr. got no GI Bill. Absolutely true. But I think we did, as when I have a conversation and find 1 Democrat to 9 Republicans. Well, you know what? We got to start talking to Democrats and start making them understand that, look at the Hispanic registered voters. They're starting to come over now back to Trump. We have Black voters coming to Trump. And it's not just about Trump. It's got to live beyond Trump. It's got to be, we have to have elected officials who are willing to tell us when we're getting screwed over. Actually, a repeat of January 6th may be exactly what they want. I think you're absolutely right, Peter. That's what they're trying for. Love Abbott. So do I. We already have an ass as president. We don't need one that looks like one too. All right. Well, we went over. It was, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Jen, I'm glad that it wasn't you this time. It was me. I would say that we're not going to have problems.
Look how fast she blames me. I just want everyone to take note.
But I took it right back, didn't I?
That's because your husband ratted you out.
No, because I looked and I was like, why, wait, I can't hear anything, not even the buzz. So I will be back in my own office with my own computer next week. Jen fixed her camera. So next week, hopefully we'll start on time. And everybody come back and tell your friends about us, and go to Rumble and give us a Rumble and follow us on Rumble.
None of you go on Rumble. Just do it so we look good.
Yeah, please.
You don't have to go back on Rumble to watch it, but at least just sign it. It takes 2 seconds. It's free. Why are you going to be like a liberal?
It's free. Yeah, it is free. Yeah, go. Mommy loves you. Aww. Well done, lady. Thanks, Mommy.
Thank you, Grandma.
Thanks to all of you. We actually went more than tens and tens of voters tonight. So let's keep it going. Tell your friends about us. We'll be back next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Ciao, everybody.